The chair lays out HB 1422 and recognizes Chairman Metcalf to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. It's good to be with everybody here this evening, and look how beautiful it is outside tonight. Mr. Chairman, members, this antiquated practice of springing forward and falling back and changing our clocks twice a year is frustrating to many people in modern day society. Some medical studies even show it causes health issues, including heart attacks and strokes, by altering of the body's internal clock. House Bill 1422 would authorize the observation of daylight savings time year-round. However, please note that the state of Texas would still need federal approval for this to occur. The U.S. Senate passed the Sunset Protection Act in 2022, which would make daylight savings time permanent in the United States for states who choose to observe daylight savings time year-round. Unfortunately, this bill was not passed in the U.S. House of Representatives. Currently, states are only authorized to observe standard time year-round without federal approval. I believe we should stick to a time which allows for the maximum amount of daylight in the evenings, and I know countless of others feel the same way. House Bill 1422 would allow that by authorizing the state of Texas to observe daylight savings time permanently if the federal government passes legislation allowing states the ability to do so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. I reserve my right to close.
Any questions for, yes, Chairman Turner.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Metcalf. You know, I've always opposed this in the past, but I will confess I'm softening on it, mainly because my wife gets mad at me when I vote against this every time. She hates changing our clocks and what it does to her sleep. But my serious question is, was there any consideration about just going to standard time year round? And the reason I asked that, I've read some studies lately, or read about some studies lately that indicate from medical experts that there's real health advantages to just staying on standard time and some disadvantages to when we do change clocks, whether it's, twice a year like we do, or even just staying permanently on daylight savings time, just because the human body, I guess, is, our circadian rhythm is timed to sunset and sunrise. And so kind of altering that has some potentially negative health impacts. I just be curious if you.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to pretend to be a medical expert and say which is better for health reasons. I know that, we switched our clocks last week, and me personally, I'm still feeling side effects from it.
Yeah,
and, I personally prefer this time because, me as a young father to two young children, I like coming home from work in the evening and us being able to go play on the putting green or whatever it may be in the swimming pool and it not be dark. And, in the standard time, I get home 5:30, 6 o'clock. It's dark outside and I can't play with my children. And so
that's a good point.
That's the reason why I chose this route.
All right. Thank you.
You got it.
Mr. Chair. Representative Speaker Guerin.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman Metcalf, did you call this antiquated? Some of us were around on April in 1966 when it was first adopted. I don't appreciate being called antiquated.
I apologize, Mr. Speaker. I apologize.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll let you have the right to close here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Erica Boyd. Erica, we have you registered for HB 1422 and testifying on behalf of the Texas Travel Alliance. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Hunter, Vice Chair Hernandez, members of the committee. I am Erica Boyd, President and CEO of the Texas Travel Alliance. I am testifying for HB 1422 by Chairman Metcalf, and appreciate the invitation to come and provide testimony. As an industry, I will keep it short and sweet. I will not repeat many of the things that Chairman Metcalf has already outlined as to the benefits of sticking with daylight saving time. I currently have a child who is playing baseball out in the sunlight because of daylight saving time. And we do believe that this is a benefit to the industry by and large. People can enjoy the outdoors more. They tend to shop more, which is beneficial to many segments of the industry the longer we have daylight. There are studies, for example, from Tufts University. They cited that Americans with more sunlight often tend to stop and shop on their way home. And that is very beneficial to many industries. And that you can do things like enjoy our state parks more as we're enjoying our centennial. So as an industry, we do believe that this would benefit travel and tourism. And we appreciate your favorable consideration. And thank you for entertaining this evening.
Any questions? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oscar Rodriguez. Now, Oscar, we have you registered against HB 1422, and you're representing the Texas Association of Broadcasters. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chairman Metcalf. I'm Oscar Rodriguez. I'm president of the Texas Association of Broadcasters, respectfully testifying against House Bill 1422. While the bill, in our estimation, could be improved if it provided an assurance that the state would continue to observe whatever national time zone framework is in place, we have concerns that observing daylight saving time year-round would have an enormously negative impact on many of our stations, particularly our AM radio stations and their listeners. Local AM radio stations' hours of on-air operation vary depending on the observance or non-observance of daylight saving time. This is because some AM stations called daytimers are required by the Federal Communications Commission to turn off their transmitter from sunset until sunrise to avoid interference with distant stations, which may not even be in Texas. Depending on the time of year, these daytimer stations would be required to be off the air during much of the valuable morning drive time. That's what we call that. Because of the size of the state, these times vary from East Texas to West Texas by about 30 minutes. In Central Texas, assuming year-round daylight saving time, most AM stations would be off the air or running with greatly reduced coverage until morning sunrise. In January, these stations could not sign on or operate with full power until 8:30 in the morning. A sign-on this late means that listeners who depend on a station for school closings and the day's weather information would not even be on the air until it would be too late for the information to be useful. Most full-time AM stations operate with reduced power or a directional signal from sunset to sunrise. Moving the clock an hour ahead of the sun, as daylight saving time does, means that the switch from nighttime to daytime power and directionality is delayed by an hour. That delay would greatly reduce the ability of our AM radio stations to compete for advertising in the most important part of the broadcast day. For local television stations, inconsistent observance of DST would greatly disrupt viewing and marketing of nationwide live broadcasts of sporting, political, entertainment, and awards events. Pre-recorded programs, though, would need an additional time slot in network promotions. International sporting events such as the Olympics and the World Cup are planned and scheduled many years in advance with much consideration of the U.S. viewing times. And having to set guides for individual states would exacerbate the frustrations of live competitions airing at unusual and inconvenient times. Finally, being out of sync with neighboring states could be particularly problematic for communities and media markets that cross state lines, such as El Paso, Odessa Midland, Amarillo, Wichita Falls, Sherman, and Texarkana, which complicates the business marketing and programming for their audiences and advertisers. So those are our concerns, members of the committee, with the prospect of year-round daylight saving time.
Thank you, Oscar. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Those are all the affirmations we have. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on, for, or against the bill? If not, the chair recognizes Chairman Metcalf to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, if there are no further questions, I ask for your favorable consideration on this important piece of legislation if it's brought back before you, and I close.
Thank you, Chairman Metcalf. The chair moves to leave HB 1422 pending at this time. Is there any objection? Hearing none, HB 1422 is left pending.